um, but
But
89 then, because did you feel like this album gave you the muscle to compete with? Because Bobby was still doing his "Don't Be Cruel" because this is a year after New Edition. We're still
still,
off
yep,
of Any Heartbreaking Guy.
yep.
We're still doing anything. Did you feel that this album gave you that extra push because you now you've got two albums in 2 years with a new set of songs?
Well, yeah, like I discussed it a minute ago, we had to compete with those fellas, which Bobby Brown, because that was his second album. He had a first album
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when he was
King of
a couple
States.
years younger.
Yeah,
Yeah, no different had albums. Um, Teddy Riley was already producing a lot of people even before he came out with
yeah.
Guy. He
Make
was
It Last
doing
Forever. Keith
different things.
Sweats.
Yeah, yeah, Johnny Kemp and all that.
Hmm.
So we needed to do that. We had to do that. We had to catch up, man. We came out good, but just what I believe that we were a half step behind with the music.
Mm.
With the music was good, but was the music was turning. It was going another way right then and there. It was turning, and we had to 6 months. We had to get off of what we was on, which was nothing wrong with what we was on. But
Yeah.
we had to get on something else really quick to compete with these other big time bombers. We had to do that. So I think it was necessary for us to get off of it in 6 months and start one. It was necessary because we couldn't have last a year and a half with the Mamacita album. It,
Okay.
it wouldn't have lasted a year. Even though it was good music, so I don't want nobody to get it wrong. But as far as like stand in the times and keeping up with the new sound, we had to do an album quick. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things I observed when it came to R&B was that there was a East Coast West Coast bias, and it felt like West Coast R&B acts were not as respected, did not get the type of airplay nationally that you would get from the East Coast. So you had, you know, the Tonys out of the Bay Area. You had
yeah.
you guys, Zulu. Um, um, I'm trying to think of R&B groups. So they're not many that you think of.
I think the boy wasn't the boys out.
Yeah, but they had the babyface sound. They had that "Down My Heart." So, and I don't know if I think that became a big sort of pop hit because of how the Face did, even when the Whispers did their thing. So I think that type of music. But when we're talking about sort of like the
Yeah,
R&B that you guys were doing, so you think about you guys on the West Coast compared to New Edition on the East Coast, Boston, Guy from New York, there
yeah,
is a different
yeah,
appreciation. So they're calling Guy New Jack Swing harder, grittier music, and they're not as appreciative of West Coast music because I think a lot of the journalists, a lot of the music heavyweights were out of New York, and so they are sort of
yeah.
dictating what's hot and what's not. So, did you ever think that you guys weren't able to, just because you're from the West Coast, you are at a disadvantage with your New York rivals? Because you had Uptown Records all in New York, all the big things from Jodeci, all the big R black music was coming from the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just think that the sound of it. That's all. I just think the sound, their sound was a little faster. They picked up on a new sound a little faster than the West Coast did. And my whole thing was just the sound. And as far as like radio play and all that, we got a lot of play, man. We got a lot of radio play. I know that for a fact. I was in too many cars, and too many times I heard that dang on mama come on. Too many times, man. I just think that I think the East Coast had a jump on West Coast with just this new sound coming out.
Yeah.
That was my whole issue. I just needed some of that sound. I needed some of that sound over here. That was it.
Between the Attitude album and Deeper album was a very much of a new Jack album, and it's an album that's actually it is an album that actually mirrors the Bobby album. You know, the elements of it. You know, maybe because you had Dimitri Ship as well, but it felt like okay, this was the. But the difference was that there was a 3 year gap between recording the two albums compared to the 1 year that you had before. Why was there a delay in doing Deeper?
I think a lot of things were changing mentally and with just different people wanted to do certain things, wanted certain things changed with managing, and plus a little bit we wanted probably Atlantic Records to do a little bit more, pushes harder, pushes like Bobby, pushes like No Audition, pushes like Guy. We kind of wanted that, and we just kind of sat around, man, and just try to do the best album we can do, and it took a little longer than we thought. And then we had changed management. We changed management, and it just took a little bit longer than what we thought, man. And that's why I was a little gap in between there, because we didn't know, we didn't the group didn't understand. You know, somebody should have sat us down and said, no, you don't do this. No, 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 you don't do this right now. No. And nobody really had our back to teach us. People had our back to put us out and help with records and things, but I'm talking about to teach us. Nobody really was there to just say, no, sit down, no. And then we didn't know what we was doing in that area, and took a little longer, left our management, and that's what happened, man.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind of.
And somewhere in between us, or even loving us, on which I didn't miss you.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
Trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No, okay.
They don't understand what Jonas boys do in all spirits.
Play it.
These guys, they all work together.
I mean, I love all different genres.